Ms. Barch-Galvan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Council Member, Mayor Pro Tem. Thanks for having me. Sorry to give you more paper, but it's a necessity of the situation. I'm Eileen Crowley-Reed. I live in the Houston Heights, like it seems like a lot of other people today do. But I'm here on behalf of Responsible Urban Development for Houston to make you all aware of a situation that involves some difficulties that Responsible Urban Development for Houston has been having with the City of Houston and obtaining documents that should be available to us when a proper request is made. As you all know, our organization has made numerous public records requests related to the proposed retail development at Yale and Kohler Streets, and has had on numerous occasions difficulty getting the city to release such documents. As several council members have indicated in the past at various meetings, this is simply unacceptable. The city has a duty to operate in a transparent manner and to provide requested documents under the Texas Open Records Act on a timely basis. I'd like to review with you the latest rather amazing situation that's in your handout. I refer you to the handout, which provides a timeline for a request submitted by us to Public Works and Engineering on January 25, 2011, for documents related to drainage on the subject property. The city's own plan check timeline system clearly indicates that those documents were in the city's possession between January 20th and February 7th, 2011. Review dates are indicated on the city's own timeline. You can see it there in the handout that I gave to you. Yet RUDH was never provided these documents after our January 25th request, and as indicated in the handout, Public Works and Engineering returned the documents to the submitting party on February 7th. And on the same date, provided a response to our open records request, which did not include any drainage documents. In subsequent communications with Public Works and Engineering, we were informed that the documents had been returned to the developer and no copies had been retained in the office, so they could not be provided to us. This seems totally unacceptable and appears to be in violation of the city's duty to provide such documents on a timely basis. And given the mayor's assurances of transparency on this project, we're very, very disappointed. So today I'm here to ask you all for a commitment from the city that as new drainage documents for this development are received by the city, they will promptly be provided to us without requiring another public information request. Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez, on behalf of Responsible Urban Development for Houston, I'm asking for that commitment today.
Eileen, I'd like to get with the city legal department. Who handles the open records request? It should be timely. Is that something that falls under your purview or under Public Works?
Each department responds to public information requests directly. They do coordinate with our general counsel section to give them advice on what is releasable and what is not releasable. I'm not familiar with this request, but if the documentation was not provided to the requester, there was probably an exception under the Public Information Act that applied and prevented us from releasing it to the citizen.
If I may, Councilmember, we asked them to tell us if there was an exception, and we never got any exception identified.
Okay, so the items are being provided to you, just not timely? Is that accurate?
No, we asked specifically. If you will see in the letter that's attached to the handout, you'll see the highlighted paragraph where we asked for all documents related to drainage, et cetera, paragraph number 1 in the letter dated January 25th. And while we did get an open records request response to various other items, we got nothing responding to drainage. And when we went through the city's system, we saw that the city did indeed have those drainage documents during the time that we made our request, but they were not provided to us. And the day they were sent back to the applicant, we got an answer that they didn't have them.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Pro Tem. Ms. Reed, you've answered in your last comments the question I was going to pose. Your organization didn't get anything from the city, nor did you get a response from the city explaining why you did not get anything?
No, actually, we did get some documents back. The last page shows a communication from a gentleman in Public Works saying that we found over 200 documents for your request, but in those documents there was nothing related to drainage.
Okay. So you received information, but it was not responsive to your request?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And on your timeline, you indicated that the city did indicate that the plans have been returned that the city no longer has the plan.
Yes, if you look on this plan check timeline, the top sheet, you'll see that the highlighted last line, which is dated February 7th, 2011, it says, return to applicant. And on that same day, they sent us a note and said, we don't have those records related to drainage.
Let me ask Mr. Harlan with the city legal department, does that type of response from the city to someone who has made a request under the Open Records Act, does that response complies with the Act?
Councilmember, what I'd really like to do is follow up with the Public Works and Engineering Department, as well as the section that handles these requests, and see what the background information is from the city's perspective. I'm just not familiar with what transpired here, and I've heard the citizens' comments, but I'd really like to dig into it further from our vantage point to see what our individuals have to say about it.
Fair enough. Let me ask a general question then, perhaps. What type of response is required as it relates to an open records request if the information is no longer held by the city?
I would think that the requester would be advised that either there's documentation responsive to the request, there's documentation that's responsive to the request but it's accepted from disclosure, or there's no records that are responsive to the request.
And Ms. Reed, do you all receive anything in that group?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
Thank you very much.
I hope I'm not incorrect about that. Could I have your name, please, sir?
Harlan Heilman.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilmember Costello?
Thank you. Another follow-up question. I noticed that the letter from the Open Records Act was via email. Was that correct?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay.
For our letter to the city, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's right, yes. It's in a PDF file.
Is that an official way that we accept requests for open records?
We do accept public information requests via email.
Okay. So I'm assuming that we received it on that date.
I would have to assume the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Harlan, if we could follow up with Public Works and with Ms. Reed in a timely manner and give her back a response, and if you could do it in writing so that they have that information, we'd appreciate it.
We'll follow up with them.
Thank you, Councilmember, very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. James Parksville Bond.